If you're looking at the crypto market right now, let me tell you one very important thing. This right now is the time to set you up for long-term success. And that basically means that you're going to have to take some time out of your day to give you many more free days further in the future. And it's all, to summarize basically, coming down to the fact that as it currently stands, the market seems to be gearing up for another massive rally. And I'm not sure if that's happening today or a few weeks from now, a few months from now really, but all I know is that as it currently stands, is a very good time to get yourself in on these different projects by knowing what's trending, knowing what to buy, knowing how to buy, having an idea of where to sell, having an idea of the cycles. And so today, in this very quick video still, I'll give you a good overview of what I would do right now, either if I was new or really now that I'm a veteran still, just exactly what I am planning right now. Like we already stated, it seems that Bitcoin is gearing up for a pretty juicy move right now, but what we really mostly care about is the cyclical nature of Bitcoin that basically points us towards a, let's just call it between $150,000 and even $300,000 Bitcoin, maybe by the end of the year of 2025. Again, just Bitcoin kind of behaves in a similar fashion every few years. And we kind of right now expect it to do the same. All we think is we are quite sure Bitcoin will never go below $50,000 again. It never crosses below this yellow line, the 200 moving average, in a bull market. And what is a bull market? Well, you basically have an 80% decline for about a year and then about 3 years of up. There's different phases to that. You can see the start of it was just up pretty good, but right now we're hoping that this is the phase where things go crazy. And you might look at this Bitcoin chart and think, where was the craziest phase? Was it this phase right here where it was just up and up and up for 2 or almost 2.5 years in a row? Let me tell you that was the phase of the crypto market. Yes, you could have made a lot of gains in that period, but here, this little 2 or 3 week period or something is really where the majority of the gains were at, and that's because of this thing we call the altcoin season. Now, if we're looking at indices, all it basically shows is how many altcoins outperform Bitcoin over a, for example, 90-day basis. And here you can see, in this case here, we're about 31 out of 100 coins, significantly better than a few weeks ago where it was just 17. So right now it's almost doubled in that sense. But in a bull market, it's basically 75 or something along those lines. If it really is crazy, it might even be 98. Here you can see the highest we've already seen in this season was 87. And the lowest was about 2 weeks ago or so, April 26th, with it being at 12. So again, bull market is basically every altcoin outperforms Bitcoin. Bear market, Bitcoin goes down less than most other altcoins. So having said that, what do we buy? Should we even be buying altcoins already then? Well, theoretically speaking, we believe that Bitcoin has hit the lowest point of the cycle now, $74,000 or so. And even though we're not sure if it's going to be straight up or a bit more sideways, with the way in which Bitcoin is setting itself up right now, it seems that altcoins, well, they've really not moved too much over the past few weeks yet. Yes, some coins like Solana are up 40% this month, but really in the grand scheme of things, with Bitcoin also being up 25%, most of these coins really haven't moved too much because usually they outperform Bitcoin by some order of magnitude. Bitcoin goes up 25%, most of these will be up 125%. Just to put it into perspective, Ethereum right now is the same as Bitcoin, but that's also because the last time Bitcoin hit $100,000, ETH was almost double the price. So you can see relatively, these altcoins have still been very weak, and it becomes easier to see that when you take a look at this year-to-date number, and you realize that from the beginning of this year, Bitcoin is one of the only ones that's up, and many of these coins are still down tremendously, again, just from the start of the year. So since we believe that Bitcoin has kind of bottomed out, and we're not so much thinking of how much lower we go, we just think about how quickly will we be back to the crazy times. This is a time where I start taking a look again at what is going to have a lot of hype this next season. There have been previous times where AI, everything AI related, RWA, and later on utility type of coins had a crazy amount of hype. Right now, there's nothing yet. Let me reiterate that. There's nothing right now that's extremely popular. It's not memes, it's not AI, it's nothing. No specific set of coins has done really good over the past few weeks or months. And usually I can make a video saying these are my top 5 coins for this or that or this or that. I can't right now because there's nothing quite clear. So what we're going to pay or do right now is pay attention to whatever is getting the most amount of hype. It could be that it's just memes like the last few months. where everything that's basically going to get you to the top of the top is by being really, really good at memes, meme coin trading, whatever. But it doesn't have to be. It could be that this season, Solana and the whole meme coin package doesn't pop off at all, meaning you're way better off just buying XRP, HBAR, XQC, or XDC, I was going to say, or QNT, just coins in that field. It's going to depend. And as of this point, you can't say for certain which is going to be. So how would I set myself up then? Well, I personally have already read myself into quite a lot of different coins, but more importantly, I have a good understanding of what different categories could be. I mean, it's ultimately quite logical. You've got your memes, you've got Solana, all these different chains like BNB and coins that are built within that ecosystem or on it. You've got the Made in America coins. This is also a sector that could be quite interesting just because right now we are seeing governments kind of hyping each other up about buying these coins. So this could be very, very interesting to watch. You've got AI, real world assets, gaming, deep in, DeFi, AI agents. You can get it from just the title. And you got to kind of speculate for yourself. Which one will have most amount of hype over the next few months. And it's kind of nice if you get yourself an entry in some of the coins within that sector. For example, we say Made in America. We can say already, hey, you know what? I might just want to pick 3 coins, maybe an XRP and 2 others that I want to get myself a position in already. Just for the sake of when they start announcing things, I beat the curve. And that's, again, the difference between momentum and value investing. Right now, what you're buying it for then is because you hope that it's kind of undervalued right now for some announcements that are going to come in the future. Whereas the opposite side, momentum investing, is really, you look at whatever's already popping off, already pumping a lot, you buy it because it's probably going to pump more. We are right now in the phase where you're looking for undervalued gems because the probability of you turning your money from, let's say, 1,000 to 10,000, so a 10x, is way higher than when it's a momentum thing. A momentum thing is more so for maybe a 2x, a 3x. You're buying something that's already pumped a lot. You're trying to catch that extra wave because you expect the market to not turn around yet. Usually less gains, but more certain, also because in a bull market, you can basically buy anything and it goes up. But all that is one side of the equation. Another side should be, have you set yourself up with decentralized wallets to buy into different airdrops, different opportunities that arise on different chains and things. I always say it's smart to have at least one wallet, maybe a MetaMask, maybe a Trust wallet, maybe an OKX wallet, whatever, that has got a lot of funds. I don't want to say a lot, but I guess some gas fees and a little bit of funds on different chains. Get yourself some funds on Solana, get yourself some funds on Atom, get yourself some money on Base, for example. Because I remember a few months ago, how should I say this the best way? I was basically sitting down and somebody said, hey, we're going to buy something on some specific chain. I believe it was Base. I didn't have that much money on Base, but I didn't want to be left out. So I bought whatever I had, and it turns out it was a good idea. Now, this is not always the case. Sometimes when people say, oh, we're buying this, most of the time, actually, it fails, by the way. It's not as if this is a guarantee type of thing. I just mean I might have wanted to put more money in, but I was just not ready because it was only a split moment thing where people were like, oh, I think there was some announcement and everybody said, let's buy this. But I didn't have the funds. I had a couple $1,000s, maybe, I don't know. But I wanted to, anyway, the point being, I learned from that mistake. And now on every single chain that I might actually trade something on, I wouldn't say get some money on every chain. 98% of them I will never use. Even if somebody starts talking about it, most of the time there's time to bridge. But sometimes you want to be there in the moment, ready to go. And I always recommend people also to, this is something that is controversial, but I always say don't keep everything in cold storage locked away far and broad, because sometimes you need to have some quick access to money. And it's not smart if everything is in a ledger tucked away in freaking Antarctica. It's cool for keeping your coins safe for the next 10 years, but it's kind of hard to access, hard to enjoy or take opportunities with. So that is also another balance you have to find between safety and utility in that sense. All right, so hopefully you set yourself up in those directions. Another thing I would also say is get yourself an account on a centralized exchange. There are always links down below in any one of my videos. For example, a WeX you can use from anywhere in the world. Or if you want to follow my bot trading tutorials and bot trades, there's a tutorial in the description down below, but you can also just check out the link down below to Paynex, for example. Here are some of the trades that we opened just yesterday. They're doing pretty good. Right, so we opened these 1 day and 20 hours ago. This one is $7,000 in the profit. This one is $7,000 in the profit as well. Some of the older trades from 2 weeks ago, some of them are doing good. Some of them are not doing too amazing, like the HBAR one. But again, give it some time. These will all turn around. And again, if you're interested in bot trading stuff, it's very simple because you can literally copy my bots. You don't have to think about it too much on your own. But all of that will be in the description down below, the links to it, because it's pretty damn juicy. But again, that's specifically for bot trading. Anyway, that was all mostly for when to buy, because again, right now seems to be a really opportune time to at least get into something or think about it. But then the opposite side is also when to think about selling, when to start selling, when to get rid of it. Now, like I said, as it currently stands, we believe that the structure that's forming is kind of similar to what we saw back in 2021, where we went up a significant amount. You can see just how much upwards we went down for a few months, in this case here 50%, this time around only 30-something% or so, and then over the next few months moved upwards. And this, it might look to you as if this was not worth it to wait, because it's only like only marginally higher. The problem is, though, in the middle of this, altcoins took such a crazier spike in the second season that it was very much worth it. And ultimately, if you're only a Bitcoin holder, this wait here, it was not worth it. It's too little of an upside to be worth it to wait. Would have been better to just sell when things were peaking and then just even be left out in this point, because it was only a few week period where you could have sold for higher. Not worth it in risk reward. Then again, in hindsight, the altcoin season really was at this point where things just went absolutely crazy. And we kind of believe that's the same as well. Perhaps Bitcoin is not even going to go on that crazy of a rally anymore, but I believe it will. I believe personally that this whole peak is not like in 2021, where it was one peak right here and the second peak right here. I believe relatively is going to be, this is a peak in a journey towards way higher prices. I'm saying at least 150,000, but I personally believe maybe 200, maybe even higher prices, $200,000 per Bitcoin could be achieved. Partially also because governments are now also going to start bidding it. And eventually, if all these companies are just stacking up against each other, there might literally be no more way to go down. There might be no more, not enough coins basically to warrant slow price increases. And I just believe this run, we will see the exponential, mother of exponential moves. But that is when altcoins afterwards go crazy as well. And at some point, things spiral out of control, like back then, and everything starts crumbling down. Now, when is that going to be? I've stated on multiple different occasions that I believe that point is going to be, let's quickly go back to the chart, it's going to be somewhere between, I'm going to say August of this year, 2025, to January of next year, 2026. Somewhere basically between this circle. The lowest is basically, let's say, $150,000 or so. One of my highest targets is like $300,000 that I have for this season. And you might think that's really far-fetched, really crazy. But if you take a look at bottom to top in 2021, for example, the bottom was at what? In 2018, $3,000. The all-time high was $70,000. It did a 21 or 22x almost in that period. As of this point, we have gone up also roughly 600% or so. At 21x, you can kind of guess for yourself, if we were to follow the same lead, would be crazy. But if we do less, we only go up, let's say, 1,400% or so, that still will put it as $227,000 per Bitcoin. But the nicer part is altcoins from that point forward really do the crazy numbers. And so, but really getting back to it, just realize that it's all worth it. It's worth it to take that leap. It is worth it to take the risk. It is worth it to dive in right now for a few hours a day even for this longer term success, to set yourself up for the long term. Because realize this, every single bull cycle, there are people coming up to me and saying, oh, I wish I knew this earlier. Oh, I wish I bought when things were low. But many, when I look at their comments, for example, I see they were here, but they were just saying, this stuff will never work out. Whenever I post videos and they, for some reason, end up with a non-crypto audience, most people still say it's a garbage scam, bad thing, blah, 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 blah. But I am almost certain that 98% of those people will at some point turn around, or they're just not into investing. They just don't like any money-making opportunities at all, which is fine. But generally speaking, most people wish they started earlier with any sort of investing. And even if you don't believe in crypto, do something else then. But set yourself up today or tomorrow. But generally speaking, it is always best to start today, because if you say tomorrow, that tomorrow might become another tomorrow, which might become another tomorrow, which might become never. So it's not that good to just think about starting. It's not good to think about what you potentially might want to buy. It's not that good to orient only. It's good to start making your first step. And I always say the first step is to buy yourself maybe $10 worth of crypto. Whatever number you can think of that's comfortable to you, to not really feel too much about it. For some people, that's $0, and hey, you're shit out of the luck, buddy. If you've got no dollars to your name, which I understand, I also started when I was a lot younger. Maybe you don't even have $10 to invest in this stuff. At that point, hey, you got to freaking row with the whatever freaking row sticks. I don't know the English name for that. Whatever sticks you've got, row with it. But for most people, that's not the case. For most people watching this, they've got a couple schmeckles laying around to invest in this industry. And I keep saying, you'll most likely regret not doing it earlier. every single person that's over the age of 50 that I've talked about with this, a lot of them have never invested a penny in their life. And when I explain to them the power of compounding, the power of time, most of them regret it. So I'll say it again. Even though you're not 100% sure it's going to do well, it's worth the risk, in my opinion. And I think from just watching this video, you realize, well, if you'd ever bought any crypto ever, I'm talking about some of the top cryptos, or if you had a properly diversified portfolio, not just buying one coin, you'd be up tremendously, and you'd thank yourself. You might think on the short term that it's so volatile it goes down, but really, once you zoom out and you look at the performance over the past few years, all this downside really is kind of a nothing burger in comparison to where it's still most likely headed. I still believe the trend is basically going to be this and this and this and this. Yes, there'll be downsides, but you're basically getting those downsides to buy in, to get the results on the upside. And again, that's also why these bots are so, I guess why I treasure them so much, is because they also significantly buy in as prices go down lower. Whereas if you're doing everything manually, it's a bit harder mentally. But anyway, that was it for this little crypto update. If you enjoyed it, make sure you press the like button. If you want to get news updates, make sure you press the little subscribe bell or whatever, little bell icon for notifications. And again, if you're looking to trade cryptos, I've got some links down below, even a tutorial here for my new bot trading strategy, and me just buying a good amount of XRP and Bitcoin. But all the links will be down below. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for this little crypto update. Hope you start. That's all I'll say about that.